Hi, we're back.
Hello, from Niagara Falls. Here we are. You can probably see something's changed. We're on the opposite sides, and there's different bookcases behind us, the Gospels and the Book of Acts. We're doing this trial video just to see if we like the setup. We may change it again as soon as tomorrow. But we thought we'd apologize first because we've been so lax lately. We haven't uploaded a new video for, well, close to 2 weeks.
Yeah.
That was not the intention. Actually, we had pre-recorded April's videos in March because we knew we'd be distracted by the workload of moving. And, well, we already told you about the totals of books. 30,000 books, but we didn't mention 15 to 20,000 LPs and something close to 5,000 DVDs and CDs that we've accumulated over the years because of being in the book business and having people bring irresistible objects to us. So
and because of homeschooling.
Homeschooling, too. Yeah. And also the shop. So we've got all that stuff from the shop that we still haven't decided what the final destiny of those books is. So 7 truckloads.
Yes.
And I think 4 or 5 car trips or van trips in between the trucks. Trying to space it over a total of 40 days. I think if you remember your Aid to Bible Understanding, 40 days is a trial period in the Bible, or 40 years. And at some point you felt that way.
And you always think things will, you plan and think things will work a certain way, but there's always glitches. So we did have a glitch in that we pre-recorded and were prepared for new videos to come out to 3 days beyond us being here. So then we thought we'd be in enough order that we could at least make a tape, make a video.
But what happened was we anticipated the lapse of internet would be at the other end, that is before we moved, and it turned out to be at this end. So we went over a week at this end, Niagara Falls, without internet. So we apologize again, not only for the lack of the break in the videos, which has caused some people to contact us wondering what's wrong, which is nice, thank you very much. But also we haven't been able to spend any time with the comment section at all. So please forgive us for not responding to direct questions that you've aimed in our direction over the last few weeks. We've been, shall we say, maximally distracted.
Yes. But we have been thinking about you and thinking about future videos and excited to get back to doing them.
Now, it needs to be said that the reason we have so many resources is in reorganizing them. The hardest part physically is over, but mentally the work has just begun. Now it becomes like a 50,000 piece jigsaw puzzle. In every new place, and we've now been in 10 since we got married 37 years ago. Every new place has windows and walls of different sizes and in different places, so you have to rethink the design of the place. The easiest part of rethinking, and the starting point most of the time, is the living space. That is the living room, because we've in recent decades always tended to have the biblical resources in the living space, which makes for this possibility that we can actually do videos in our living room.
And it is more like a jigsaw puzzle for us, because we have somewhere in the neighborhood of 120 to 150 pieces of furniture, mostly bookcases, in which to find and match, mix and match to coordinate with the walls that you have in the current place, which are always different. So you have to measure everything and figure out which bookcase will suit which wall and make maximum use of the space that you have.
And which books will stay in your living space if you have less living space, and which books will go in the basement, and which ones will migrate to the garage, which we now have outside.
Yeah.
It's all mentally taxing, but it's also, as well as exhausting, exhilarating.
And
because
challenging.
you're challenged. You're challenged, and you refresh your knowledge of what resources you have on hand.
That's right. And you reassess. that, you know, what was important for you to have in your living space before it changes. And for us, having now been doing the videos has changed what we want to have close at hand. So we're reshuffling our library as well as to finding books that we read that influenced us. So we think, oh, well, that will make a good video. So it does mean you reassess everything. You rethink what you have on hand.
In the last move, which was 3 years ago, our fellowship that had existed at that point for about 4 to 5 years was aiming towards a joined or a unified simplicity. We'd already decided that there was a very important text that we were neglecting because we didn't even have a clue as to what it could mean in its application in the 21st century. And that's this text from Hebrews chapter 3, verse 12 and 13. Beware, brethren, lest there be in any of you an evil heart of unbelief in departing from the living God. But exhort one another daily, while it is called today, lest any of you be hardened through the deceitfulness of sin. And when our group got together as a fellowship about 9 years ago, we couldn't, for the life of us, any of us, figure out how we could apply this today, because what kind of life would you need to lead to have the ability to touch someone else's life, the whole community's life, daily? Weekly we could see, because everybody's in the habit of going to church.
Yeah.
But
we
daily?
we wanted this fellowship to be close and accountable to one another. Excuse me.
And we couldn't see how that could happen on a daily level unless you're actually living in each other's space continually.
And that's what caused us to move to Brampton, because before that we were in Mississauga. So we moved to Brampton and lived with one of the families from the fellowship first.
3 years.
And then 3 years later we moved in with one of the other families, which included another family below us. So, you know, there are surprises and there are self-sacrificing that goes on for everyone when you decide to do that. But our aim was to simplify our lives and to help one another with costs and be practical and yet accountable to one another in each other's faces a bit more.
So when we moved to a suburb of Brampton called Bramalea with one of the families, we tried to live without a vehicle, but it was difficult in the suburbs for sure. So we decided 3 years ago to move to downtown Brampton, and that seemed like a great idea because within walking distance you would have amenities, you would have church if you planned it right.
Yeah.
And so it worked out. So there were very good things about that.
Yeah.
And it seemed to succeed in bringing us to for a while anyway, to a daily accountability, a daily ability to bless each other, as it says here, encourage or exhort one another every day, but also the accountability that comes in the other direction, which is you need to have people around you to hold you to your goals and commitments. Yeah.
That's right.
So simplicity was not, although it was number 10 in our list of 10 commitments that we jointly committed to as a fellowship, it wasn't by no means the least on the list. It was the bottom line. It was what we had to achieve before we could achieve many of the other commitments, which I hope to get into, the entire list. But simplicity seemed to be essential if we're ever going to make it, in terms of being able to exhort and encourage one another daily. So when we got to Niagara Falls, when we planned to come, wherever we had to move, and finally to Niagara Falls, we decided we had to be able to achieve similar goals wherever we ended up. So
Because at this point we didn't have a car anymore.
didn't have a car. That was different for the first time.
We had given that up.
First time since Max was born that we hadn't had a car, and we were determined, if we could, to break our dependence upon a vehicle. So in the next segment we wanted to talk about how so far it's worked out in Niagara Falls, and how you can avoid being accused of being at the very least eccentric, and
Yeah, we're gonna get into how can you be simple and have 30,000 books.
Yeah, how can you be simple and have 30,000 books? Some of our friends, who remain friends by the way, have asked us how we can reconcile those two thoughts. So in the next video we want to talk about why so many resources.
Yeah, and resources.
Next time.
Mhm.